right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking Thursday. If you go on Google News and you type in the word dementia, you'll be surprised how many communities around this country and around the world, as a matter of fact, are trying to figure out what to do with a population that seems to be suffering from dementia, especially as we get older, I guess because we do get older. Dr. John Grace has been tackling this subject for a long time in his private practice over in Crystal River, and he's even shared his knowledge and understanding of this and other psychological diseases or conditions on the air with us here on WOCA. He's in the studio this morning. He is a board-certified psychiatrist. He's the medical director of the Memory Enhancement Center of America, which we want to talk about. And he's here in addition to that to promote something called Dash for Dementia. It's a Memory Center fundraising event that is happening on Saturday, April 26th. Good morning, Dr. Grace. How you doing?
Good morning. Thanks, Larry.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. I wanted to give the phone number of the Memory Center as well. We didn't get that last week. It's 352-746-0125. And the email contact is remember.meca@gmail.com.
Okay. We make sure we mention that a few times. Robin is writing it down.
And that's for, the services that we're going to be offering at the center, we'll talk about the Memory Center first, is essentially screening for cognitive issues if you or someone you know is having some memory problems. Also, resources for community resources. There's a lot of integration of services in any community that needs to be done. And our mindset behind starting this facility was basically everybody, there's some reimbursement or there's some worthwhile purpose to offer services for memory care. People get paid for them and such. But really there's not a lot of reimbursement for coordination of care. So we decided to start a nonprofit organization whose sole purpose is to coordinate the care of these patients who really need it the most. I mean, if they don't have a family member down there, let's face it, we have a lot of snowbirds, their family members are up north. If they don't have someone kind of looking out for them and sort of keeping track of all these things, then their story, their information is most at risk to get lost. And that's the purpose of our center down in Crystal River, and we're hoping really establish it there and sort of expand the idea, because we think that this is the future. Like you had said, every community in the country, if they're not figuring it out, they're going to need to be figuring it out in the next 10 to 15 years, how to take care of patients with memory issues in a cost-effective manner. And we think that the secret of that is through integration on the web, basically connecting all of your community resources through a central hub that everybody can plug into and everybody can get information from on how you take care of patients and things you do well and things you mess up over a course with an individual like this.
I would imagine that what you're doing in Crystal River will be looked at by everyone, because they, like you say, they want to know what to do. I think Arizona is huge on this, and I don't know if you've had phone calls from them or not, but it just when you look at the numbers, it looks like Florida and Arizona have the largest.
Right. We actually we're the number 2 state. Number 2 county. Citrus is number 2 county in the state as far as age, number 5 in the country, and I think Arizona has 2 or 3.
Is that right?
In the top 5 as well. So yeah, you're exact. But what's very interesting is as baby boomers age, the demographics in that county are going to be the demographics across the country. We're the future.
Probably,
so to speak,
yeah. That would make sense.
So if they're not, like I said, if they're not figuring this problem out now, they're going to be figuring it out in 10 years. And I think that we can sort of lead the way in doing that. So
and the word nursing home, as it applies to what the old meaning was. Even in the old area I'm from in New York, has assisted living facilities in it. I don't even remember that phrase.
Right, or skilled nursing facility. That would be the difference between what would be termed a nursing home in the past would now be termed a skilled nursing facility. Assisted living would be a step down in care as far as how much assistance is needed.
So when you are establishing this, are there legal things that are different from state to state that would apply to what you're trying to do, or is this one of those things that we can kind of just create an idea and it'll pretty much plug in anywhere?
Well, I think the general principle is going to be able to be plugged into anywhere. I think there's going to be there's going to be specific tweaks as far as things like keeping track of the information, HIPAA guidelines, and how it's enforced through law, enforcement and that sort of thing. Because what we want to do with our center is we want law enforcement also to have access to this information. Because believe it or not, law enforcement has a tremendous amount of interaction with dementia patients when they go on silver alerts, when they go to someone's house and they're confused. I mean, I think it really, really will help them if they need to know, okay, this guy's been slowly deteriorating, or no, this is a dramatic worse situation. Mm-hmm. How they handle those situations is going to be different. So we think that patients with cognitive impairment or a history of cognitive impairment, law enforcement should really be on the team as far as being able to access that information when they need it.
So if law enforcement picks up somebody that has wandered away from home, that person doesn't have any identification on them, or they don't know where they live, will they bring them to your center until they can find their people?
Yeah, well, hopefully we can do better than that. I mean, hopefully what we're looking forward is giving some sort of bracelet or some sort of ID that the patients can have, that law enforcement will then be able to look up their information, know how to approach this patient, know how to deal with them, and know where to take them. So we're trying to get one step better than that. I mean, we do that now, certainly. I mean, if they have someone, they can bring them to the center, or they could bring them to the emergency room. But we feel that with these are predictable emergencies. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with cognitive impairment, you're looking at these things are going to happen again and again and again. We just feel that we should get a long-term game plan.
Interesting you say that, because one of the things that seems to happen again and again is what Robin mentioned, the wandering off.
Absolutely.
And that's huge. I mean, I mean, I'm sure there's some people who politically would be opposed to like chips, like you put into a pet, but I don't know that that's such a bad idea. What is your thought on that?
Well, I mean, I think that something you wear is going to accomplish the goal a lot easier than something implanted. I don't think we've gotten there yet that we all feel comfortable having things implanted. But what's fascinating about that is how a society embraces technology. I mean, this is cloud-based. This is a cloud-based platform, which means all the information is on the internet. 10 years ago, we never could have done that.
That's right, yeah.
Everyone was terrified of cloud-based. No one wanted their banking information on, remember that? No one wanted their banking information online.
Right.
Well, now
it's all there.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that as society embraces different technologies, different things become possible too. So
I think so too. Are you okay with me inviting listeners to call in? I had a couple calls that tried to get through. The number, if you'd like to speak to Dr. Grace, is 622-9622. That is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, 622-WOCA. And in the course of the show, we'll make sure we mention the phone number over at the Memory Enhancement Center as well. The things that are considered symptoms of dementia, are they does the opposite happen? In other words, you know how they say that if you're feeling down, smile, because a smile will make you happy. Does being apathetic cause somebody to become have dementia?
Well, we know that I wouldn't say that it causes a disease process. It can alter the disease process. So staying active is certainly one of the most important things that you can do. And that's why when we talk about depression and dementia, there's such a big overlap. Not only can depression present with cognitive deficits, but if you're depressed, if you're apathetic, if you don't care, if you're not exercising your mind, your dementia is going to get worse faster. We know doing, Sudoku or doing some sort of brain puzzles is going to be very helpful for you in slowing that progression. So if you don't have the energy to do that, if you feel like you're giving up, then the disease is going to progress more rapidly. So that's definitely something that is critical to look at.
So on April 26th, on the date of your event, if people have questions, if they need to speak to you one-on-one or a member of your staff, can they come to your event and have those questions answered on that day?
Sure. We're all going to be there. We'll be there for questions. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun, low-key event. And I like the idea of a low-key event for something like this. Sometimes people will present these kind of events and they'll be dramatic and they'll try to get a ton of people behind and sort of a flash in the pan kind of thing. And this is an idea that I think has taken a long time to develop, is slowly coming to fruition, and is going to be here for a long time. This is something that's going to be a part of our community, and I think other communities in the future. And I just want people to come out and get comfortable with the idea, because I think it's something that's going to help everyone who's involved with it. And answer your question, Robin, we're going to have some of the screening tests that we use on the computer, they're touchscreen computers where they sort of follow how you do things. And what's neat about them is that not only do they follow your memory, not only do we show you a picture of a butterfly and you hit the butterfly, but they also follow what's a very important component of how you're thinking called visual spatial. And this is why when you have a lot of forms of dementia, you can't drive. It's not that you don't remember where you are as much, it's your ability to hold a map in your mind gets impaired with some forms of dementia.
Okay.
And so this form of testing where you have to hit a specific spot on the screen really is very specific for that. So we're going to have some of those tests out there on the computers. We're going to have little tablets that people can play games on and see what we do at the center. Because the biggest obstacle to this is, let's face it, fear. It's the elephant in the room. Everyone's terrified.
That's right.
They don't
want to take the test for fear that they're going to find out they've got dementia.
And there's so much of what we do is reassurance. You know, they come in, they say, oh, my mind's going. It's like, look, your mind's not going. You don't have dementia. You don't have Alzheimer's disease. You're a little stressed out. And we do that half the time anyway when we do these sorts of evaluations, is sort of reassuring people that they don't have it. So that's really the purpose of the screening purpose of a center like this. So I think the Dash, I think, will be a lot of fun for people to kind of come out and actually get their hands on some of the tests that we use and make the whole thing a little less scary, a little more friendly.
Is there still the question about whether it is inherited or not?
Well, there's certainly some forms are inherited. Alzheimer's disease, when we talk about that, is basically a buildup of a protein in the brain called amyloid. And there are people that have both too much amyloid naturally, genetically. They produce too much of that protein, and it sort of, lack of a better term, gums up the machinery. There's also people that have difficulty in the genes that break down the amyloid. And so we know that there certainly is a genetic component, and that's why we will do some genetic testing as part of our evaluation to see if you are one of those risk factors for developing Alzheimer's disease.
And John, you have a phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Dr. Grace.
Good morning, Dr. Grace. I have a question for you. Does could smoking be a major cause of Alzheimer's or, I guess, dementia? And that it's not that I smoke or anything, but I had a relative that did. The funny thing was they quit for 15 years and all of a sudden started smoking. And then when they started smoking, they in their senior years, their mental capability really went downhill fast to the point that wound up in a nursing home. And I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you.
Sure, that's a great question. Well, I think the first part of any discussion on smoking is understanding that smoking does both acute and chronic damage. There's damage from smoking that you're not going to reverse. If you smoke, that even if you quit after you smoke for 10 years, there's some damage that's been done that you're not going to repair. I think a reasonable expectation is about a 50-50 ratio there. But what's that is important is that half of the damage that you do from smoking is a cigarette that you pick up today. Just stopping today is helping you from half of the damage of smoking. When we talk about smoking and your brain, the biggest factor that smoking does is it damages your blood vessels, increases, and your brain has, obviously, like every part of your body, has a lot of small blood vessels called capillaries. So when we talk about forms of dementia, the form of dementia that smoking really, really stands out with is a form called vascular or blood vessel dementia, where your vessels aren't getting enough blood to the area of the brain. Now, is that going to worsen Alzheimer's pathology specifically? Probably not the specific pathology of Alzheimer's, but since your brain is not getting enough nutrients, it's not getting rid of its waste products, and you're probably having, I hate to use the word strokes because it's way too of a dramatic word, but you're having what are called little events or microvascular changes, to use a technical term, where these little capillaries are falling apart in your brain and they're not getting the things that they need. So the answer to your question is absolutely, smoking is going to be detrimental to most dementia processes, and stopping even at a later stage in your life is going to be very, very worthwhile. So we're going to work very hard. And the other thing I think to keep in mind in smoking is that most of the damage is not the nicotine. It's the other carcinogens in there.
Really?
So we're going to be much happier with someone smoking, electronic cigarettes, say, or something like that.
Gotcha. So it sounds like what you're saying is that, I mean, I don't know the man that the caller was talking about, but it sounded like maybe he was on the edge and the smoking tipped the scale against him.
Well, what's fascinating about dementia is that there frequently is this fall off a cliff sort of phenomenon where people say, they were doing great right up until they went into a hospital, or they were doing awesome right up until we moved them. What you don't realize is that, as we talked about before, the visual spatial component, keeping track of your map, your world, is a very, very complicated process. Anytime you move somebody, you actually put their brain, their cognition on a whole new level of stress. You trying to learn a new environment
That's right.
is tremendously more complicated than you realize. And so it's not necessarily that the disease progressed that rapidly as much as they know their own environment so much more, and so much of that is learned long-term memory instead of short-term, that when you put them in a new environment and suddenly they have to learn all those things, how many steps it is to the bathroom, where to get up, what side of the bed, all that stuff, then it looks like they just fell off a cliff. So
when it comes to the enhancement center, which is what we want to focus on somewhat, the feeling I get is that if I'm concerned because somebody I love is starting to decline mentally, that there will be the resources through something like the enhancement center to help me as the caregiver.
Yeah, I mean, one of the really exciting components of the center is going to be a patient portal. So you'll be able to log on to that patient's information and give us information as well. That, again, when we're talking about Wheels on a Hub, we're not just talking about the doctors, we're not just talking about the police. We're talking about patients and their caregivers being able to give us information. We update that running summary, so there's a clear history of this patient through time from everybody who interacts with them, including home health agencies, everybody.
So would it eventually, or at least temporarily, prevent somebody from having to go into a facility? Let's say my mom lived with me and she started to decline, and I decided, well, here's what people are recommending: take her to a facility, an assisted living facility or something. I find out about the memory enhancement center. Could I instead have her stay there while I'm at work and then come get her, like kind of like a daycare or something?
Well, adding an adult daycare to the center is certainly one of the things that we're really, really excited about. I think that's a big component. And daycare, I don't know. I find the term a little,
because we associate it with children.
Yeah,
so it seems like it's
I think it's a little diminutive. There's something wrong with that term.
We need a new word.
It's the term. It's the appropriate term, but I don't think it's right for the message that we're saying. I mean, maybe a adult activity center or something along those lines.
Some people call it respite. Is that
respite? I would say is more overnight as well.
Oh, okay.
When you go and let someone stay overnight, but my point is that I wish more people did it, because it isn't daycare. I mean, daycare implies almost babysitting function. There's more that goes on at those centers. I mean, they do more stimulating activity than you would think. I mean, almost day treatment or rehab, sort of cognitive rehab.
Oh, maybe. Really?
Yeah, maybe a more effective sort of way of looking at the good centers. And that's what we're trying to do, is sort of stop them from just staring at the TV all day while someone's at work. Maybe get them more engaged, more stimulate, more sensory modalities. Because we know that with dementia, if you stimulate their fingers, their nose, their touch, their eyes, all those senses at the same time, you're activating more centers. The brain's going to work harder and deteriorate slower.
So you could take this may be out of left field kind of a question, but if you have somebody in your family, let's say that's got signs of declining mental awareness, could you say, you know what, let's join a dance organization, or let's go golfing, or let's do something where we're moving around a little bit, and just it'd be a fun thing to do, and perhaps have some significant effect positively? No?
I think that's a great idea. And the other thing I think that's really misunderstood sort of as we age is keeping our day-night cycle intact. And things, we're designed to have very bright days and very dark, quiet nights. So if you can get outside, stay active, I think that's also helped setting that clock. One of the things we also see, right, with dementia processes is sundowners. Sun goes down and people have a harder time knowing where they are, what's going on. part of that is that the biological clock, your circadian rhythm, just is not working quite as well either. And so if we can keep those patients active when they're supposed to be active and sleeping when they're supposed to be sleeping, their overall course tends to be better as well.
Since you are an author, are you going to be able to put this in a publication kind of a form or a book form so the families of the people with dementia can have something like this at their fingertips if they have questions, and they can flip through a book to understand more what their parent is going through?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I think whenever you guys are both authors too, it's like you always have like a list of
Not like you.
10 or 11 projects that you may get to down the road. So it's the idea of getting it and seeing it to fruition is always kind of a long process. But absolutely, I mean, sometimes though I think that can be overwhelming. You know, when you hand them like
A book, yeah.
Well, even or a list of books.
Yeah.
When someone's a caregiver and they, here's a reading list. It's like,
That's exactly.
It's like I'm 2 months behind on my homework, doc. I really don't need another 6-week course.
Yeah. The phone line's open if you would like to speak to Dr. Grace. The number is 622-9622. And could you repeat the number for the Memory Enhancement Center?
I can. It is 746-0125, and the area code is 352. And the email there is remember.meca@gmail.com. And you can also get it from our website, johngracemd.com.
Okay, remember.meca.com? Mm-hmm. And 352-746-0125. And again, the event, I'm sorry?
It's remember.meca@gmail.com.
Oh, at gmail.com, I'm sorry.
The event is the Dash for Dementia, April 26th. Like I said, it's a very low key. I mean, Dash is a little bit ambitious, I think, for what I'm going to be doing out there. I mean, I'll just probably be walking around the track there and going through some screenings with people, and just come out and meet us and see what we do. And I think that you'll be impressed with the character of the people there and sort of the vision and the mission of what we're trying to accomplish.
And this will be at Lecanto High School.
Lecanto High School, yes.
The community here that we're speaking to, we have a lot, and I know this from our listeners' feedback. We have a lot of caregivers, both professional as well as family members. Is there something for the professional? The person who's been working with it for years, is there still something they could learn?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're going to have a number of sponsors there from both home health agencies, several hospitals as well. Seven Rivers is involved, Citrus Memorial, Springbrook Hospital. So you're going to have a lot of professionals there to interact and network with as far as, hey, what are you guys doing over there? This is going to be an event I think that has something to offer for every level. So.
The Dash for Dementia for the Memory Center of Citrus County fundraising. How is it a fundraiser? How do we help you?
You'll be able to donate when you're there.
Donate money?
Yeah. Essentially, I mean, we've obviously had some sponsors, but there'll be an opportunity to donate. You could get a Dash for Dementia bracelet.
Okay, cool bracelet.
Yeah, cool bracelet. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about something else that we started doing a few weeks ago, and we may be doing some of this in the Memory Center as well, is that we started some transcranial light therapy, which I think is a really cool idea. I haven't really seen it work, but supposedly it does in Finland. I just wanted to mention it because it's something kind of new, and anytime Citrus County is sort of leading the way in something, I think it's kind of neat. But basically they're doing this in Finland where they're lighting up your head from the inside.
Wow.
And seeing if it has the benefits from light therapy. Because, we use a lot of light therapy in the office, but sometimes people can't tolerate it. The reason why I think it crosses over to dementia is that they also have a lot of problems with tolerating bright lights in the evening. So basically we're putting really, really bright light in your ear.
Oh, wow.
And it's lighting your head up from the inside.
That might make me lightheaded, though, no?
I tried it a few times. It's strange. I mean,
have you really? And yet, did you notice anything?
Well, yeah, a little. I mean, I think it made my pupils constrict. So I was probably viewing the room as a little darker than I should have. But,
oh, wow.
Yeah, cool. So,
Dr. Grace, always good to have you in the studio.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming in, and we're looking forward to having you on again. And don't forget, Saturday, April 26th at Lecanto High School is the fundraising event for the Memory Enhancement Center. We will take a little break. Call us if you need the number repeated. Robin will put it on Facebook. This interview will be on Facebook before we're done with today. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Deadly clashes in Ukraine. A crowd of men armed with stun grenades and Molotov cocktails attacking a Black Sea military base. 3 pro-Russian militants killed. This as Secretary of State John Kerry and other diplomats meet in Geneva.
The foreign ministers from Russia and Ukraine around the same table, and the European Union's top diplomat. But each side arrived with a specific set of demands, meaning hopes of a breakthrough are slim. The US and Ukraine accuse Russia of stirring up the unrest and want that to stop. Russia insists it has no involvement and refuses to recognize the Ukrainian government.
Fox Radio Simon Owen. 3 people killed at Jewish community sites in Kansas City are being remembered today. Attorney General Eric Holder among those attending the service. And rough weather making it hard to search for missing passengers from a sunken ferry off South Korea. Fox News, we report, you decide.
America was built by people with a few dollars and a dream. And while many don't know it, there's one path to success that still only requires a dream and just $10. That's right. If your dream is to start or grow your business, something as simple as the right business card could make all the difference. And today at Vistaprint.com, you can get 250 full-color business cards for only $10. Plus, for a limited time, you'll even get free shipping. What's more, you can choose between hundreds of designs or upload your own and customize them easily. And because they're from Vistaprint.com, the cards are of top quality and your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed. So visit Vistaprint.com today and get 250 shots at turning your dream into reality. Hurry, because this offer won't last long. To get your 250 business cards,